It's a great pleasure to be here and to welcome you all back for day 2, our final day of the inaugural Said Rhodes Forum on Syria, Jordan, Lebanon and Palestine. My name is Bridget. You can tell from my accent I am not from the region. I'm from Australia. I'm a Rhodes Scholar. And it's been my honour to be part of the organising committee. The Syria, Jordan, Lebanon and Palestine Scholars opened me with open arms as a member of the team, which was a great honour. I'm just going to start today by reflecting on some of what we heard yesterday and to try and give voice to the incredible energy that was in this room. So some of what we heard about partnerships, public, private sector, academic partnerships. We heard about the challenges that we often don't speak about, climate change, technology, conflict, political reform. We heard about the importance of investing in education and in people for development and sustainable development. We heard about innovations in healthcare, electronic health records. We heard about the effects of displacement on childhood aspirations. We heard about the importance of transcending borders, whether literal or disciplinary. We heard about NGOization, about computer games to diagnose psychiatric disorders. We talked about reclaiming legacies and democracy not as a system of governance, but a way of being together. We talked about belonging, identity, and home. When I asked sort of around the room last night and this morning about, what people really took away from yesterday and the feelings that they had, a lot of people reflected on the irony of being brought together here in Oxford as kind of people working together in the region. People talked about the power of having an intergenerational discussion, bringing those different perspectives from throughout the history of the region. People reflected on the fact that so much is going right in the region, but the narratives that tend to dominate and the headlines that tend to dominate don't often capture that. People talked about the importance of seeing silver linings on every cloud, of seeing opportunities in every challenge. And people talked about moving from scarcity to abundance. And I think if this room is any reflection of ideas, energy, and hope, we have that in abundance. So when we think about moving to today we're going to turn to 2 themes which have already been woven into the fabric of our gathering, and that is education and culture. Yesterday's discussions on health and economic development both picked up on the importance of investing in education. So we're looking forward to taking that conversation further in our panel and keynote today. And then we're going to talk about culture, which has really been at the heart of this conference since the performance on Friday night, when we were all so deeply moved by Kinan and Kevork's performance of Home Within. We're going to talk about what responsibilities artists bear and the capacity of culture and art to convey the ineffable and to reshape our narratives. So welcome back for day 2. It's an honor and privilege to be here, and it's an honor to introduce Liliane, who's going to speak a bit about the Rhodes Scholarships for the region, for Syria, Jordan, Lebanon, and Palestine, and then we'll proceed with the education panel and keynote. Thank you.
Sabah al-khair. It's so wonderful to see everyone again today. It's always a challenge to follow anyone in any address, but it's certainly a pleasure to follow such an eloquent intro, I suppose, to the day by Bridget. And I think you will all share the sentiment of how impressed we've all been with the quality of remarks and interventions, but also the emotions, the quality of the emotions that has spurred into us. I will not try to capture everything that we've heard. I will mostly try to highlight what I think at the core of what we were hoping to bring together here, an example of where investment in human capital helps us move, even if tiny bit, the needle along. So as you would have seen in the last day, it's been a bit of an intellectual carnival, I would say. I think the intensity of both the emotions, of the remarks, of people jumping in and sharing across sectors, it really captures, one, the community that we're forming, but also, I suppose, the vivacious nature of dialogue in the region. And in the spirit of the intellectual carnival, I think we rightly reflected on where where is investment going to move the needle on when you're talking about human capital in the region? And I think there have been very powerful remarks about, investing in a scholarship here versus investing in a school there. This is not going to be a one-size-fits-all, right? And I think throughout the progress of us setting up the scholarship, and particularly because we've been setting up in a region where we've had two countries under endemic conflict, we've had multiple challenges in reaching the right students, we've had challenges in working out what public service means or service to the public means. And I think in defining all of that, we realized, well, one leader is not the solution, but it's certainly part of it. And we heard yesterday of multiple initiatives that do anything from promoting reading in young kids to bringing kids together in communities to bridge a lot of the, a lot of the barriers and labels that existed, but also how important research is onto these communities to understand how to best further that mission. But I hope you also share the same sentiment of all of this, all of us coming together would have not been possible if we didn't have many of the student leaders that we have here pulling this whole program together. So this is where I'm back to the plug of why the Rhodes Scholarships, why the Saïd Scholarships, why in general scholarships to further higher education away from home. I am a very humble example of having benefited from the Rhodes Scholarships. We moved to Canada and almost in a blink of an eye, I ended up getting a Canadian Rhodes Scholarship that landed me here. My journey was obviously via Lebanon. And it's been a life-changing, I don't even know how to put the word there, but it's a life-changing opportunity that continues to give. I trained as a geneticist, but my life has kind of taken various dimensions of health education, both in the region and outside. And it was all due to a small investment compared to what's required to really move the needle in the region, but an important one. And I think one that enabled us all to then sit together and say, well, hold on, how do we do that for a broader region? So 5 years ago, and with a very generous endowment from the Saïd Foundation, we were able to kind of materialize that in the Rhodes Scholarships for the Syria, Jordan, Lebanon, and Palestine. And it's the scholarship and the gift that keeps giving, because look at all of us. We're all sitting together. We're all sitting together as a community. I love that we're sitting together around round tables. I love that we were eating yesterday in proper kind of Mediterranean style, going across each other on the table, talking, picking up pieces of food. And I think, I also love that people have identified that there are many more connections to be made and many different models and nuances to how we should be contributing back to the region. So if I say one thing, it's acknowledging that the complexity of investing in education and in human capital ranges a spectrum. We are not the solution to everything. We would like to be part of it. If you know of fantastic individuals that you think could be part of it with us here, then please encourage them to apply for the Rhodes Scholarship for Syria, Jordan, Lebanon, and Palestine. I will be very excited to receive, curate, and steward the selection committee that will help them go through the process and hopefully bring them there, or just in general have an opportunity to interface with the many bright minds of the region. I won't speak, it says I have 44 minutes, I'm pretty sure that's not for me, but I won't speak any longer beyond saying thank you all for coming here with an open mind. Thank you all for having discussions that transcend labels, transcend sectors, transcend countries, nationalities, but also that understand that the complexity of what we're dealing with require us all to work together. So on that note, and on the note of investing in human capital and education, I'll hand over to our Rhodes Scholar from Lebanon, who will introduce Dr. Jabra and steward us through the day. Jumana.